Today, I have with me Zishan Tour and James Watson from our Creative Zone Tax and Accounting team. Do you want to get started? We already have around 100 people on the call, and I think we're getting late, so let's get started. Good morning, guys. Nice to have you again. So over to you, Zishan. Just introduce yourself. Let's see, let the people know who they're talking to and listening to.
Sure, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for joining us on this session as well. I've been with Creative Zone Tax and Accounting for almost 6 years, so it's been quite a journey. And as you know, that this arm was set up to make things easy for you guys, right? So that's the aim for this session as well, to go over a whole kind of a journey where we explain things from all angles, from not just from one corporate tax angle, from a VAT angle, or from an ESR point of view, but as a whole, the first 2 years, what are the deadlines? What are the things that you need to keep be informed about? And that's what we'll do in this session.
James?
Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm James Watson. I'm the head of sales for Creative Zone Tax and Accounting. And the focus of this session, as Zishan just mentioned, is really about trying to reimagine how we deliver tax information to clientele, and to try and make sure that everyone's up to date with recent changes or updates, and deliver that in an innovative way.
I'm sure there's a lot going on, right? Especially with, there's a lot of terminologies out there like AML, UBO, compliance, ESR, corporate tax, VAT. It's a whole journey. It doesn't just stop from, okay, you got your trade license, you register for all this, but then I think it's more of an ongoing process, right? You have to be informed of the deadlines. For all of them, they have. So I think this session will give you a whole journey of what, so we as Creative Zone, let me give you an introduction of who we are, if you don't know yet. So we are the largest business setup advisories in the region, in the UAE. So we help entrepreneurs set up their business. So that's the beginning of the journey. You get your trade license. So that's the start. Now, what comes after that, nobody tells you. Well, it's a whole ocean out there. It just getting the trade license, I would say, is the easiest part these days, right? The free zones offer you within a day or two max, or within hours now. So once you do that, what comes next, right? So Zishan, would you want to get started on, before that, if you have any questions midway, so please feel free to write down your questions. It can be any topic, anything on accounting, tax and accounting. So write down your questions, either on the chat box or the Q&A session. I will address it as we go, and the gentleman over here would be more than happy to address these questions. So let's get started. Zishan,
Sure.
So how do you say up? So once, okay, I got my trade license, now what?
Sure. Business setup, when your trade license is issued, that's just the start. You have to look into all the different things that you need to be aware about, be compliant with, and license setup is just the start. What we've done is we're sharing this screen where we've laid out a company's journey of their first 2 years, which highlights the important things, the important deadlines, the important timeframes that need to be taken care of, and the important regulations that need to be looked at. So in month one, what we've said is people need to be done with their AML registration, make sure they're compliant with UBO, and also do their corporate tax registration. These three things are mandatory for people. UBO and corporate tax is mandatory for everyone. AML is only applicable on some industries. Mm-hmm. So corporate service providers, accounting and auditing, law firms, then you have real estate brokers and agents, and then dealers of precious metals and gems. That's who the AML registration applies on. So, and that AML registration, the GoAML registration, is just one of the many things that people under this have to comply with. They have a lot of other compliance requirements that they have to meet to make sure they're compliant with the AML regulations. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of this is so that the authorities have put these measures in place so that these industries don't engage with clients, suppliers, or any other parties who are related to money laundering or anyone who's related to that illegal business that can be there in the market. Right. So that's the first step.
And is this something that I can do it on my own, or is there a portal that we go and register ourselves, or how does this work?
Yes, there is a portal, and it has to be done properly on that portal. There is 2 to 3 different step process that needs to be done. Yes, people can do it on their own, but it is advised to get help on this because it is a very technical process, and if you do not do it properly, then it can get stuck.
All right.
Right.
So if I'm an e-commerce business, then I don't have to bother, right? I don't have to do any of these. It's only those specific industries.
For AML, those are the specific ones that you have to look at. AML covers 2 broad sections. One is the financial institutions, which is banks and financial companies as well. Then there is this DNFPs, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
So this covers these 5 industries.
All right. So is there any kind of penalties, or, when it comes to if I don't submit my AML on time, what's the,
Yes,
how do I get penalized?
So penalties for money laundering include fines starting from 50,000 dirham, all the way up to 5 million.
Oh my gosh.
So they actually can be quite significant, and they actually can include imprisonment for up to 10 years as well.
Okay, this is quite serious.
Yeah, quite a serious issue, quite a serious matter. All financial institutions are, required to have AML controls in place,
right?
And actually report suspicious transactions. If they actually fail to report any of these transactions that they deem to be suspicious, then they can face fines of up to 1 million dirham. So it's actually quite a serious matter.
And I'm sure people in the audience, and Neha, you may also have heard those newses where different people were fined millions and their companies were closed down or their businesses were closed down, and they had these issues regarding AML. So that did happen. That has been happening, and the authorities are also keen on getting this in place properly.
Right. Okay. So is there a deadline? I mean, is there a timeline when we should submit for AML, or you said it's month 1? So
as soon as you have your license, this would be one of the first things that you should do, because this is supposed to be in place when you're starting to engage with clients or trying to close clients or onboard clients. This is supposed to be in place. Every client is supposed to go through this. The due diligence process, the KYC process, the risk assessment process, everyone has to go through this to be onboarded by these companies.
All right. Okay, so that's about AML. Any other additional information that you want to add?
Well, AML is a very broad topic.
Okay, let's not
it's a session in itself, so I don't want to go into that detail, but this is just one of the compliance requirements that's visible, has a penalty attached to it as well.
Quite hefty.
Exactly. 50K is the starting where this, if you're not registered and if the authorities find out, they get penalized. And we had these situations in the past where we've experienced our clients getting these penalties, and we helped them to get them removed for when they were not valid. So we had those, when these laws came into place.
Right. All right. So moving on, let's go to anything else in month 1 that we should be aware of doing?
Yes. The second thing I would mention is the UBO compliance.
Okay.
Now, normally, the UBO compliance regulations, what it says is that anyone who is the beneficiary owner, the ultimate beneficiary owner, which means anyone who has 25% or more shareholding or voting rights in a company, they have to be identified, and the companies need to keep a track of that. Right. So right now what's happening is the licensing authorities, they have processes in place where the UBO information is submitted to them while doing this license.
Right.
While at the time of license issuance, they get this information before they actually issue the license. So that's the one step. The second thing that needs to be taken into consideration is in UBO, you have to maintain 3 registers, which is the register of shareholders, register of ultimate beneficiary owners, and the register of nominees.
Okay.
Every company needs to maintain these at their premises if possible. Otherwise, they still have to maintain these, and it includes a lot of information about each of those people that get involved in any of these registers. And then the third thing that you have to do in UBO compliance is to make sure any change in that information is then also informed to the authorities as well on a timely manner. So that is where, that's a very brief way of putting the UBO compliance. It's a very simple compliance that people need to take care of, but it can be quite, penalizing if not done
Again,
properly.
what are the penalties again associated with UBO?
So for UBO, whilst it's not as significant as AML, it's still, as Zishan mentioned, it's still quite important to maintain it. Violations for UBO can be up to 100,000 fine.
All right.
And plus, potentially even more damaging to the business is suspension of license for up to
Nobody
12
wants
months.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one to keep an eye out
So
on.
even if it's a single shareholder, I'm the only person owning this company, you still have to register I'm the ultimate
So
beneficiary.
in this case, there is no registration anyway.
Okay.
What the two things that need to be done are your records need to be updated with authorities.
Okay. Records meaning
The owners, the shareholders, their records, their information.
Mm-hmm.
They have a set of information that they need for the companies to inform the authorities. All of that information needs to be updated on a live basis with the authorities as well. And at the same time, the company needs to maintain its 3 registers.
Okay.
So these are the two things that can be done very easily, very simply. It's not too complicated. Nothing is needed on that. And it can save you up to 100. And this also ties in with AML because AML, the point of that is also to make sure that people are legitimate and verify their, individual presence, them individually as people. So this helps with that.
Okay. There's a question. Isn't the UBO part of the trade license process? It is, right? Yes.
Exactly. Right. So right now the authorities, what they've done is they've made it part of their process, which helps them in making sure the UBO compliance is also done. And also from their end, they would also be doing some AML measures, KYCs, all of those things are also incorporated into one process to make it easy for clients rather than doing 2-3 different processes, highlighting in them as different processes and making it just, a duplication of of things.
And is there a timeline for this? When if I register my license today, do I have to do it in the first month or is it okay if I can do it?
It should be done as soon as possible.
Okay.
There is no submission required. There is no registration required anywhere, but it should be maintained at the first instance. Authorities can come and ask about it at any day. There is no given time frame that this will happen or this will not happen during this time period. But it's, maintaining those registers, it's a one-time thing.
Right. So, from the previous question, they're asking, I know I've registered my company. Was it part of it? They're not sure. So they're asking if it has to be done separately or how would they know if my UBO is already taken care of?
What I would say on this is when you were getting your license set up, assume that it's already done because the authorities will not start your process until they have this information properly with them and verified from there. They would not issue you a license without that. So assume it's done. Whenever you have a change, then it's on you to have that updated with the authorities as well.
Okay.
And anyways, they do it on a renewal basis as well. So every year they would make sure everything is same. You submit that information, confirm all of that information, and then it's fine. But it is your responsibility to make sure that any update, even if it's an update in the address of one of the owners, you still have to.
And it's only the 25% above shares. If I have only 10%,
So what happens, like I said, there are 3 registers. UBO is someone, ultimate beneficiary owner is someone who has to be identified, who has 25% and more. But for the other registers, a shareholder for all the shareholders, the register for shareholders need to maintain all the information regarding all shareholders.
Okay, you have to provide that information. Okay. All right, so that's kind of an overview about UBO. So moving on, let's go to the page and see what's next.
So the next thing in M1, month 1, is the corporate tax registration.
Of course, let's go.
That's the the trending topic right now, right? So, and it has been in corporate tax has now been in place since 1st June 2023. So most people would know this, that now any company, regardless of whether it is a free zone, mainland, etc., whether reliefs are available, whether they're not, whether you're operating or not, corporate tax is applicable on everyone. Everyone has to register no matter what. They have to register, they have to maintain their books and also file the returns. Doing that returns can also mean that, yes, you file for reliefs, exemptions, etc., but this still applies on everyone. That has to be understood by everyone. I think people are starting to understand that. And that's one of the purposes of this, to make sure people are aware about their own responsibility of getting themselves registered. And they should try to get this done as soon as possible. Although there is no penalty yet, and there's no deadline yet, but we still encourage people to get this done as soon as possible, because we don't want to wait until the last minute and then rush into things and then have system issues, technical issues, one thing not updated, another thing not updated, and then have those all pile up and become a big issue.
But even within corporate tax, there's sometimes other areas where maybe companies could be in violation, and penalties in that area can be up to 20,000 dirhams.
Okay, so have that in mind. So it's, although as Zishan mentioned, nothing's announced yet. I mean, it's still hot, it's still new.
So the violations that James is talking about are the other violations that can happen.
Okay.
Incorrect information submission, things like that.
Okay.
Right. So the penalty about registration has not been announced yet, but there are some other penalties that have been announced. So those are the ones that James is talking about.
Okay. And for corporate tax registration, can I do it on my own, or do I need I can do it?
Yes. So people can do it on their own. But again, I would advise, if you're familiar with it, only then do it. We do not want situations where you do registrations wrongly and then you have to close down that registrations and do them again. So if you can get help, get help. If you cannot, then get familiarized first and then do it.
Okay. So I'm sure there will be a lot of questions on corporate tax. Please feel free to ask your questions. Is the registration of corporate tax for natural person open?
Okay. So this is a good question that is brought up, because this is a journey for companies. We're not taking into consideration natural persons.
Individuals, yeah.
Natural persons are individuals who are not being identified as companies.
Okay.
So hence corporate tax only applies to companies.
Okay.
There is one situation where a natural person may be required to fall under corporate tax, is when they are conducting business activity and they earn a revenue of more than 1 million.
Okay.
Then they would have to be registered for corporate tax.
So this natural person will also have to maintain their books, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone has to maintain their books. That's a given. For
right.
whether so that's actually one of the things that we will cover later as well. That's something that has to be maintained at all times, regardless of who you are, what you're doing, etc., etc.
So again, with corporate tax, we get this question, I mean, are free zones exempt? See, other than some special cases, your free zone, what was it called? The incentives, right? The reliefs, everything. But other than that, you have to file for corporate tax. We did have a lot of these sessions previously also. Again, that was one thing that everybody wanted to hear, that, okay, you're exempt, you don't have to register. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Yes. Anything
absolutely.
else that you want to add for corporate tax?
Well, like I stressed earlier as well, that for corporate tax, even if you are eligible for the qualified free zone relief or the small business relief or the restructuring relief or whatever, you're not doing any work or you're not doing any operations, whether you don't have a bank account, etc., that does not matter. Whether you're a free zone, that does not matter. You have to register for corporate tax.
Okay.
Regardless of all those things. Those things will come into place within the registration, within filings. You'll make those declarations through your filing. There is no other way of you making those declarations. Please, this is something that everyone needs to understand. There is no other way of making those declarations known to the authorities unless you do it through filing.
Right.
So that's what we've assumed as of now, that will become part of your filing. If you don't register, people will not, or authorities will, more specifically, authorities will not know. And their default setting is that everyone is responsible for their own registration. And if they do not, at a certain time, I'm sure they will have these penalties also announced. But right now, there's no penalties.
Right.
But it is on us. They've given us that time period. They've given us that freedom to, actually register whenever we can. So let's try to get registered as soon as possible.
Yeah, you never know. Tomorrow, an announcement might just come in and you'll have to be prepared, basically.
Yes.
All right. Again, coming to the natural person, I'm talking about the sole establishment legal status.
Yes. So this is a type of a license where a company, it is a company, but the difference in that is the liability is unlimited. For sole establishment, for sole proprietors, the liability is unlimited. So from a point of the law, it is assumed that that company is an extension of the natural person, of the individual. So it is not still considered as a separate company from the identity of the natural person.
Okay.
It's considered as an extension. Again, the same thing will apply. They might not have to, as of now, they don't, once they cross the 1 million, then they will have to.
They would have to. Okay. Okay, I'm getting questions on this. For corporate tax filing, do our accountants need to be audited by third-party auditors?
For audit, no, not everyone has to get their accounts audited. There are two type of entities from a corporate tax point of view that have to be audited. One is someone who is availing that qualified Freezone relief. And the second category is people who have 50 million or more of a revenue. These are the two people from a corporate tax point of view that need to be audited and need to submit their audited reports while filing their returns. But other than this, there are jurisdictions which require audits for renewal, trade license renewals.
Okay, that's, it depends on each jurisdiction or each free zone or each...
Exactly. Okay. So it depends on your jurisdiction.
Okay.
If they require it, they require it. If they don't, then they don't.
That's fine. So again, I think this is based on the previous natural person. So company with single investor, no need to register.
No.
Yeah,
and that's, I want to clarify that.
Yes.
You can have a limited liability company with one owner and you can have a sole establishment with one owner. Limited liability company will still be considered as a separate entity because its articles or memorandums will mention specifically that the liability is limited to whatever has been put in as share capital in that company. However, for
a sole
establishment, that might not be the case. If everyone who has this type of license, they need to look at their licenses and they also need to look at their memorandums or articles of incorporation, which will have a clause on liability.
Okay.
Which will mention that whether it is limited or whether it is unlimited. If it is unlimited, then you are a sole establishment and you can be considered as a natural person. But if it is limited, then you're considered as a separate entity and then you have to register.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so just be careful. Just read your MOAs and...
Absolutely. And what I would say is get help. If you're not sure, don't wait. Don't wait for anyone to come and help you.
Right.
Get help, ask for help, ask questions, ask people, and you will get that help. There are people that you can have people. You will also know some people. Right now, everyone knows an accountant.
Exactly.
Ask questions.
Okay. So the natural personal sole establishment have an existing VAT registration are unable to register for corporate tax yet, but the person, sole establishment or natural person who does not have VAT registration is able to register in few cases. Can you elaborate why, please?
So it is again this situation. Initially, what had happened was with VAT, even the sole establishment were required to register for VAT. However, that's not the case with corporate tax. So we're also waiting for the authorities to give more clarity on this topic on what will need to happen for these kind of companies. And as soon as we know, we will definitely get in touch with everyone and we'll make it public as well. What is the way forward for these type of entities?
Okay. Does all companies need to have an accountant, even those that are just starting out as a free zone in Sharjah? Having an accountant is not mandatory, right? But
yes,
having your books maintained is mandatory.
Exactly.
Okay.
Having an accountant, it's not the objective of the authorities. The authorities want the account to be maintained properly. But from your point of view, you can only have accounts maintained properly if you have a proper accountant. You can
outsource it.
Outsource. That's the next step. That's the next step. What people do is they tend to maintain their own way of recording things, their own way of looking at the revenue, and that's fine to some extent. That's fine for your own personal, analysis and doing all of that. That's fine. But from a corporate tax point of view, you need to make sure you are using the standards, the IFRS or the IFRS for SMEs that have to be used to maintain your financials, your commercial books.
Right.
Also, going on from what Zishan just mentioned, submitting incorrect returns can attract penalties as well. So omitted information, things like that, can attract penalties of 50% all the way up to 300% of the VAT liability.
Okay.
So that's how important it is to maintain correct records. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Okay. For filing the tax returns, what is going to be the starting points for filing? I mean, is there a date for the tax returns?
For corporate tax?
Yes.
So we will come through that.
Okay.
We have there is month 9 of year 2 where we mention the deadlines for the corporate tax filing.
Okay.
So we'll come to that.
Okay.
But for now, let's move on because then we will be short of time towards the end.
So I think, I know corporate tax is still a hefty topic with a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty out there, but we're always here to answer your questions. So even if not through this webinar, always feel free to get in touch with us. The team will share the email IDs or our profiles with you so you can get in touch with us directly.
Absolutely.
Moving on. Yes. Zishan,
So
James?
we're just moved
Wait,
to
we're
the
still
month
in
2.
month 1. Oh my gosh.
No,
I think
this is month 2.
Okay, great.
So month 2, the first thing on month 2 is the bank account opening. So this is just kept as a reference point here. It's not going to be a standard situation where every company in month 2 will have a bank account opened. But this is just kept as a reference point. This is where you may expect 60 days is what the bank takes to open up your account. So that's what we used as a reference point.
So this is for the traditional banks, right? I mean, is it okay if we open like digital banks like, VO, Mashik Neo?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That's an easier solution.
I mean, that'll hardly take like a couple of days, right?
That's an easier solution. Okay. So that can be possible. That's not an issue.
Okay.
Now, moving on to the next big topic is the VAT registrations.
Right.
If the threshold is crossed. So
what is the threshold again?
375 is the mandatory one and 187 is the voluntary one. This is again an important topic from all companies' point of view. You have to keep track of whatever your taxable supplies are for the past 12 months. Once you cross this 375 threshold with your taxable suppliers, and which includes your revenue and your imports as well. Once you've crossed 375, you have 30 days to register. If you do not fall in this category, then there is a lower category of the voluntary registration where anyone who is above 187,500 up to 375 can choose to register.
And what's the benefit of choosing to register?
The benefit is that they get considered as a stable business.
Okay.
People who do not have VAT, they are assumed that they're below 187,500 and hence people don't consider them as a stable business. So that's one of the benefits. Another benefit is that they can claim the VAT that they've paid to people. So that does not become an expense anymore. That's something that you can get back.
So the people who are earning less than 187, you said? Yeah, 187,000. I mean, they don't have to register or they cannot register. Okay.
187 below 187,500, they cannot register.
Okay.
Above 187,500 and up to 375,000 is the voluntary rate where you can choose.
Okay.
And penalties for late registration if you do pass that 30-day mark start at 10,000 dirhams all the way up to 50,000 dirhams as a penalty, plus also a percentage of the liability, which is dependent on the number of days with which you are late after that 30-day period as well.
Yeah.
So it's only once you cross that 375,000 dirhams you have to register.
Have to, yes.
And once I cross that, within 30 days, I have to register.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Let's see if I have any questions here. How do we handle VAT if all invoicing are to EU with VAT 0%?
If they mean by how they do filings, it's normal filing. You will have to consider them as zero-rated suppliers. That's what I understand from the question. But we can discuss this off camera if the client has any questions.
It requires a bit more of details for you.
Exactly. Yeah. But everything else will be standard. It's just that one type of their invoicing is zero rated, but they will still have to make sure that they are looking at their threshold once they cross, and then they register on time, and then returns are filed on time as well. We'll come to returns at the first quarter as well.
Also, is it mandatory to use any accounting software?
No, it's not mandatory.
Excel is fine?
Yes, it is fine. Not recommended.
Okay.
It is highly recommended to use one of the softwares that have been approved by the FDA and it's listed on their website. But use a software, if not those ones.
Okay.
Excel is the least recommended option.
Got it.
More prone to errors, and like you mentioned,
incorrect information yes.
leads to penalties.
Okay. And that's all kind of manual, right? Again, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so ideally it's better to use an accounting software. There's some technical questions also. I think let's move on because we're running short of time.
Yes.
So
let's complete this, and then if you have time, then we'll go through some questions. So the next thing is bookkeeping recurring, right? So as I mentioned, bookkeeping is mandatory for everyone. Every business is required to maintain their commercial books, and it has gotten even more important with corporate tax. It became very important with VAT first, and now it has become even more important.
So what bookkeeping would I do if I have zero income coming in?
So it would, if you don't have anything, if you are not doing any operations, those are situations as well. It will have to be 000.
Okay, but still you have to show that it's 000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be, regardless of who you are. Books have to be maintained at all times. Whether you're doing any work, if you're not, whether it is very simple, whether it is one transaction,
still
just record
maintain
that.
it. Yeah.
In some way, you can use a cheap software. There are software that are, up to 100 dirhams or so for a month and 1,000 for a year or something like this. So there are cheaper solutions available. You just have to get them being used to maintain these properly.
Okay. Got it. So we offer, CZT offers a complete solution for bookkeeping, right?
Absolutely.
So is it based on transactions and how do you maintain it?
Yes. So basically, when we provide bookkeeping support to a client, we look at their business and we try to come up with a quotation for them that is relatable, that is customizable, that is affordable for their situation. Because not everyone will have a similar set of revenue or transactions. One person can have very limited scope. So we try to customize packages for clients specifically.
Perfect. All right. Anything else that needs to be added for VAT? Sorry, not VAT. We're bookkeeping now.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
I think that we'll come to bookkeeping. This is a recurring thing. So we will come to this
so
again.
This was which month again?
This is a recurring thing. So month 2 is finished now.
Okay. So bookkeeping every month, it's a 365-day process.
That's why we kept it as a recurring thing in this whole journey.
Okay.
So that people know that this is an important thing that has to be done at all times.
This link, can we share it on the group chat also so people can, refer to this at a later stage? Because it's quite informative. It tells you exactly the timeline of what needs to be done when.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on.
So moving on to quarter 2 of year 1. By this time, we would have registered for VAT. So your first return for VAT becomes due. So when you're done registration with VAT, they give you mostly a quarterly return period. And for this return period, they give you 28 days after the period of the return to make sure you file and settle the liability as well.
Okay. All right.
So that's what we're covering here. Month 2 was VAT registration. So month 5 is 3 months after, where your first quarterly VAT return will be due. And there are penalties for non-compliance as well.
Okay. All right.
Again,
so we have those recurring ones, quarterly ones, and the bookkeeping ones, recurring ones. Yes. So now we've reached year 1, year 2.
No, we're on Q2 for year 1.
Okay.
All right. So, but mostly it's a similar thing for Q3 as well,
Right.
where your next return will also be due.
So every quarter you'll have to file your VAT returns.
Yes,
Yeah.
every quarter or whatever time period has been assigned to you by the authorities. And for non-submission, I think, James, you have the...
So for VAT returns, the penalty can be 1,000 dirhams.
Okay.
Per,
At least it's
per return.
breathable right now.
But this is per return though, right?
Okay, per return.
And if you're consistently late, that can go up to 2,000 dirhams per return. So it can be
That will
quite,
add up.
It will add up very quickly.
Yeah.
Plus, there is a penalty if you do not settle the amount as well. There's a percentage penalty.
Okay, if there's no revenue and only costs, how do you report? Okay, it's fine. Carry on. We got the go ahead.
So the question is no revenue and costs.
Yeah, only costs.
So you can register for VAT based on costs so that you can claim those as well. And if you don't have revenue in your return period, you just have to mention your cost and claim that VAT back.
Okay, all right. What is the threshold limit for corporate tax registration? I mean,
for corporate tax, there is no limit or no threshold. VAT has a threshold.
Okay, and what is that?
375. That's the mandatory, and 187 is
the
voluntary
one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What did you say again? If the memorandum mentioned independent from its liability?
This is related to corporate tax for sole establishments.
Yes.
What you have to do is go to your memorandum or articles. It will have a clause on liability. It will mention whether the liability is limited or unlimited in different words from different authorities, but that's what you're looking at. If it is limited, then it is a separate entity. If it is not, then it is considered as a natural person.
So if you're confused, just get help, because these can be worded differently, right?
Like we've seen that we have had 3-4 questions just on this.
Exactly.
So
it's worded differently. I think you just have to a person to understand.
Exactly. So just reach out to us. We can help explain this in more detail, and then go through any other questions also.
Okay, we have more questions coming in. I think let's just carry on and then come back to the questions later.
So now coming to Q4, again, it's the same of what we've already covered, the third quarterly VAT return and bookkeeping, more of bookkeeping. Just this has been put here to stress the importance of bookkeeping. Then we move on to year 2, where you have the renewal of your trade license.
Yes, you can come back to us.
Absolutely. Once you're done with your trade license renewal, you carry on doing business. You will have your 4th quarterly VAT return, and then the stress upon bookkeeping again. Then we move on to quarter 2 of year 2, where we have the first VAT return of year 2.
Yes.
The next thing is a new topic, ESR notification, month 6.
Yeah, I keep seeing this deadline, ESR deadline, everywhere on my social feed, and this is all I can see. So please, can you please elaborate?
ESR is a topic in itself where it has been introduced in the UAE for some relevant activity, companies who are doing relevant activities, 9 relevant activities. If you are conducting these 9 relevant activities, the purpose is for this regulation to make sure that you have substance within UAE that is helping you perform these activities.
Okay.
So to keep a check and balance on this is they've introduced 2 compliance measures in place. So if you are doing one of those activities, then you have to file a notification within the first 6 months of your financial year end.
Okay.
That is why we've mentioned this at month 6 of year 2. Your first year would have ended, at the end of Q4 of year 1, and then you have until month 6 to file your notification.
Okay. And every business have to register, or you just said there's some specific 9 industries?
So this only applies to those 9 activities.
Can you give us an idea about the 9 industries?
The 9 activities are banking, investment fund management, insurance, shipping, holding, headquarters, management business. Then you have distribution and service. I think I'm missing 1 or 2. IP is one, intellectual property.
Okay, all right.
And the notification that Zishan's mentioning, where you have to submit 6 months after your first year, failure to do that holds a fine of 20,000 dirhams.
Okay.
So it's quite serious.
Okay. So
Yeah.
adding up all these fines, I mean,
It becomes
I'll close my business.
well, no, you don't have to. You have to just get proper help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of worrying about closing down your business, just get help. It will be way
Much
cheaper
more
than
easier.
looking at these penalties.
Right.
Right. So with ESR, there is another compliance measure. As I said, there are two compliance measures that need to be taken. One is the notification. Notification is basically declaring to the authorities that yes, for this previous year, I've done the relevant activity, and yes, I've earned income. That's what you do in the notification. The second part of this is when you are earning that income from a relevant activity, you have to file an ESR report.
Okay.
That is a much more detailed submission that has to be done to the authorities, which mentions specific information, detailed information about your employees, your adequate expenses, all of those things, financials as well, in much more detail. Why it asks for this is because as per the law, if you're conducting a relevant activity, you have to make sure you pass the economic substance test. And to do that, you need to make sure you have adequate resources in place, adequate expenses, adequate assets, adequate employees, and your managing the business is also being done from the UAE itself.
Okay.
So all that information is reported in the ESR report. And the deadline for that is 12 months from your financial year end. And that will be mentioned in month 12 here on this journey. When we go down, we'll see that as well.
So that requires some solid help, right? I mean, I
Yes.
don't think that's something that we can do as a business owner. We would
Yes.
be in a position to write down the details.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So moving on, the next thing is bookkeeping. Again, stressing upon the importance of bookkeeping.
Yes.
Then we have quarter 3 of year 2, where
Yeah.
you would have the second quarterly VAT return.
Right.
And then in month 9, you have corporate tax filing. So this is
This was the first filing, right?
This is the first filing for
Okay,
corporate tax.
all right.
So with
Now
corporate
we've
tax,
registered. Now it's time to file. Right.
exactly, for corporate tax, they've made it easy. They've kept it only to one filing for 1 year.
Okay.
So what the deadline is that within 9 months of your financial year end, you have to submit your corporate tax return and also settle the liability for it. So that's why it shows in month 9, considering the first year was your first
Right.
year
Yeah.
as your financial year, and then month 9 of second year is your deadline.
Okay.
So people can take this into different context, apply to their own companies, look at your financial year, and then look at month 9 for your deadlines. Then again, stressing upon the importance of bookkeeping again.
Here we
I
come
have to
again.
mention that every time because
Keep
people
your books
still
done. Yeah.
exactly. People do not realize how important it is. It's not just an important thing from compliance point of view. It helps you make sure your compliance areas are taken care of, but it also gives you insights about your own business, how it's doing, how is it not, any red flags that you need to look at. So
This wasn't mandatory before. Even for VAT, we didn't have to maintain books before.
No, it
or-
was.
It was.
It was
But I think it's
mandatory.
much more stressed right now because of the whole corporate tax registration. You have to do
Absolutely,
it.
so-
Even though you have zero income, you still have to do it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it was mandatory before as well. With VAT, it got highlighted more,
Yes.
and then with corporate tax, it is even more important.
yes, stressed upon right now. Okay.
Specifically for books, though, there's no specific timeline.
Okay.
But if your books are requested and you can't provide them in time,
Exactly.
then there's
You're-
potentially
you're
fines
in
there as well.
trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes all the way up to 500,000 dirhams.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So quite significant.
okay. All right.
Okay. So moving on to Q4 of year 2, that's when your third quarterly VAT return will also be there. And then the ESR report that we talked about, it says if applicable, because it is only applicable when you have income from that relevant activity.
Right.
But just to mention, just to clarify, if it's not already clear, that if you're not doing one of those 9 activities, then ESR does not apply to you.
Okay. All right.
Then the last thing again to stress upon is bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping, yes. So that's like a complete comprehensive journey for the first 2 years. Again, this keeps repeating, right? Year 3, again,
Absolutely.
you'll have your VAT, your bookkeepings again.
Absolutely. That's why we've kept it ongoing towards the end.
Yeah.
So you can just pick and choose your year and
Right.
apply. Year 1 will be your year that you want to apply to it.
Right.
Apply this whole journey to, and then you can take
So
it from
your
there.
UBOs and stuff, I mean, unless there's a change in the shareholding structure, I don't think you have to do that again.
No, you have to do the UBOs when there is any change on that information or register that we're maintaining.
All right.
That can be the address changed or anything from a shareholder.
So there's there's no deadline or timeline for that. If it's changed, you have to change.
As soon as there will be, I think there's a 20 or 30 day period that you have to do this, and there are consequences as well.
Okay.
So it is on every person itself to make sure they keep their information updated.
Okay. All right. Anything to add, or we can just take a few questions and then probably it's already 12, so it's time to wind up too.
No, so as closing thing on this whole journey, please take this. We've built this whole thing for you guys to help you explain or help you understand things or absorb things in a better way. That's why we've also provided a visual aid, which helps.
It's a lovely tool, actually. I think the link should be shared again.
Yes, it would be shared.
Please, because go refer to this. It gives you like a complete overview, like when, what, how,
Exactly.
And then you can reach out to, your respective, friends or teams like Creative Zone Tax and Accounting to help you out if you are, anyway stuck anywhere.
Absolutely.
Many clients that we speak to, whilst many elements of these they can maybe do themselves, as Zishan has alluded to, when you think about the timeline and the actual milestones that are needed, getting support is usually essential.
Yeah, I'm sure, because James, you deal with a lot of clients, and you deal with, I can do this on my own. Why not? It sounds very simple, I feel. But just go to the portal, just fill in your details. The basic requirements, but I don't think it happens that way.
Exactly.
One mistake, the fines are there.
Exactly. Absolutely. The fines are there. It's very easy to get assistance and get help and make sure you navigate those timelines and just avoid fines as much as possible. The risk of missing is too large.
Right.
And it's also important to make sure you get the right help.
Yes.
What can happen in the market, and we've seen this, we've experienced this with our clients who've had these issues where they got, I would say, not the correct information and not the correct help. And that did not help their situations. So get the right help and get it properly. Then you can also give that responsibility and have that trust on them to make sure they will do it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we will. They're asking if there's a recording. Yes, the recording will be made available. We will share the links with you. It's on LinkedIn if you want to go and check it out later. We'll be uploading this on YouTube as well. So there are a lot of sources for you to go and cross-refer back again. Anything? Okay, is there a provision in law? Is there any provision in law for the mode of payment? Like if a certain amount of payment can only be made through a bank, or we can still make every payment in cash?
To the authorities for returns?
To the authorities, or I'm not sure.
So, okay.
It's not quite clear, yeah.
So if we're talking about the returns and what are the what are the liabilities or even the penalties, you can make those penalties through banks, through credit cards. The authorities have given a lot of options that you can use to make those penalties. You can even take the cash to exchange houses and do the penalty or make the payment from there. So the flexibility is there. It is available to everyone. Everyone can do it. You just have to actually do it.
Right. Okay. Because there's a lot of these technical questions coming. It's very, it's pertained to their own business activity. I think these kind of questions can be taken at a later stage, or you can email both of the three of us. We will take it and we'll have it addressed. One question is directors' income from various companies fall under business activity for corporate tax?
The director's income, that's a good question, and that's a very detailed topic that we can take off air and discuss, because what people may think is director's income may actually be something else. It can be categorized as salary or bonuses or other things, but it has to be looked at into depth before I can give a particular advice. And because the situation with director fees is also that the arm's length principle also applies in this case, especially with corporate tax being there. So if you can reach out to us, we can have this discussed in more detail.
All right, perfect. So looks like we're good. Okay, is there any limit on the salary that the owners, directors can receive?
Yes,
based on
like
industry
I touched
standards.
upon that there is an arm's
Yes.
length principle that has to be adhered to. It has to be according to the market value of that particular role in that
Position,
particular
yeah.
entity. It cannot be an unlimited one. It has to be under some guidelines and principles.
Right. Okay. So I think it's good to go. So if you have any further questions, we have our details put down. You can email us. So we will take more questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have our emails info@czta.ae or 800 CZ tax
Tax, yeah.
as the phone number that
Phone
you can
number.
reach out to us. And I think our team will put the link for contact us, a
Yes.
form that you can fill up with your questions, and then we can take it from there.
All right. Perfect. Any closing wise words from both of you?
Well, I would like to stress upon that everyone needs to understand their compliance. And I'd like to close off with corporate tax as the final remarks, because people still are not fully aware that they still have to do the registration, maintain books, and file returns. I'd like to close off on that because that's key right now. And people who have already been in business from 1st June onwards, 1st June 23 onwards, their first year started as with their setups. So anyone who has set up a company on 1st June or after that, their time period has already started. They need to make sure they're doing books for that period until now properly.
Now.
And then
Yeah.
And yeah, from my experience, most business owners want to try and focus on the commercial aspects of a business, especially when setting up. Most, the first couple of months or years in the business, they may even be running in red, right? So they want to focus on that, not have to focus on compliance
Right.
and tax and accounting, which is why we're here to try and help and take that burden away. And I think this session that we've just been through highlights those milestones and how to navigate them and what we can do to help that. So I think, yeah, it's just worthwhile getting some help and some advice.
Absolutely, because you're here to make money. So why don't just give yourselves somebody to manage that money for you.
Exactly.
No, it's important because, it's a headache. If you don't take care of it, it's kind of becoming, it just adds up because one after we saw month one, there were like 2-3 deadlines. Now, if you're not on top of the game, you attract a lot of penalties. So why take that stress when you can actually focus on your core business, make some money, and then, teams like us can take care of your anything compliance related and tax and accounting.
absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. Thank you, Zishan, so much
Thank you, Neha.
for
Thank you,
this
Neha.
session. It was very informative. And please do check out that link. It's quite good. It's very comprehensive, gives you a good understanding of everything compliance. So the recording would be available in all the social channels. So feel free to go back and refer to our conversation. Thank you so much.